President Biden signing even more executive orders yesterday, reversing restrictions on funding for abortion access domestically and abroad. Those were initially imposed and expanded by the Trump administration. Now, Biden told reporters during a signing ceremony in the Oval Office he was reversing, quote, his predecessor's attack on women's health access. Here to react, we welcome Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, a Republican from Arizona, who's also leading the fight in Congress against taxpayer-funded abortions. Congresswoman, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be on.
Wonderful. Today, as we know, is the annual March for Life. It's an event that started after Roe v. Wade, where hundreds of thousands of pro-lifers gather in D.C. They march for the rights of the unborn. It's a virtual event this year because of the pandemic, but normally there's a huge number of people flocking to D.C., including busloads of students as well who participate. If you don't mind, just sort of tell us about how the executive actions we've seen Joe Biden recently go, how they really rather go against the goals of those who would normally attend the march.
You know, Joe Biden pitched to the American people that he wanted unity and to work together with Republicans, but we've seen over and over again just how radical he is. Here he is promoting abortions once again. And let's face it, that's killing unborn babies. I mean, I don't understand the obsession by President Biden and the Democrats that they're so pro-abortion. What he did with the stroke of a pen is give taxpayer dollars, our U.S. taxpayer dollars, to foreign organizations that perform abortions, and also to Title X, which is low-income family planning here in the United States, to refer people for abortions. I mean, he's helping Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers. This just shows just how radical their agenda is. They do not want to work across the aisle. They want to push through every radical agenda piece they can in the time that they have control. And I hope the American people see it for what it is.
The press secretary, Jen Psaki, has answered reporters' questions about these decisions, saying that Joe Biden is a devout Catholic, but not really expanding on that. I know you have legislation in the works that would hope to prevent these actions from proceeding. Tell me a little bit about your efforts and potentially what success you've garnered or support from fellow Republicans.
Well, you know, I have signed on to and co-sponsored and led numerous pro-life pieces of legislation and letters to try to stop this attack on life, on unborn babies. I mean, this is one of the most important issues. If we can't protect innocent babies' lives, what are we doing here? And so I have broad support from Republicans. Unfortunately, no support from Democrats, because the Democrats are so pro-abortion, they even took out, in a primary, one of their only pro-life Congress members left. And so now I don't think there's any pro-life Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives. And that's really sad for America. And I call out, actually, I used to be Catholic. So I know that the Catholic Church teaches against abortion. But they're apparently not doing a real good job having their leaders accountable and telling Joe Biden, if he really is a devout Catholic, this is totally against Catholic teachings and, I believe, the Bible.
I know you've at least reached out across the aisle to try to gain some support for your legislation there. But here's what House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has said about Republicans in regards to them being the enemy within. Listen to this.
I do believe, and I have said this all along, that we will probably need a supplemental for more security for members when the enemy is within the House of Representatives, a threat that members are concerned about in addition to what is happening outside.
Congresswoman Lesko, your thoughts on that statement? Do you know any Republican enemies within?
You know, Nancy Pelosi continues this very irresponsible rhetoric. She's been doing it for years, for months. I mean, several months ago, before the Capitol attack, she called President Trump and Republicans domestic terrorists. I mean, in her group of people continue to do name calling. I mean, when they can't win on the policies, they continue to, on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, call us racist, white supremacists. And this is their strategy. This is their game plan. If you look at any of these books that say, okay, how do you win? You defile the opponent. And this is their whole program. This is all they've got. They call us terrorists. They call us white supremacists. Of course, we are not. And she needs to look in the mirror and look at her own members who have gone against the Jewish people, anti-Semitic. She does not take them off committees. She does not reprimand them. So she needs to look in the mirror and stop the rhetoric that is causing division in America.
Congresswoman AOC says that there's no accountability in the GOP. Listen to this.
There are no consequences in the Republican caucus for violence. There's no consequences for racism, no consequences for misogyny, no consequences for insurrection. And no consequences means that they condone it. It means that that silence is acceptance.
Well, when she was asked to condemn Antifa violence, here's what happened. Watch.
Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington? We'll be making statements. It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack. Will you be condemning Antifa? We'll be making statements. They firebombed an American...
Refusing to condemn or say anything there. Congresswoman, what do you make of this double standard and these allegations AOC is making against Republicans?
Well, it's just their continuation of trying to defame Republicans, anybody that disagrees with their point of view. That's what they turn to, is name calling. And, you know, it's working, actually, because you have large corporations that now think that Republicans who did legal votes on the floor are somehow insurrectionists and saying, oh, we're not going to donate to you. And the mainstream media is just an arm of the Democrat Party, and they keep repeating this stuff. It's absolutely outrageous. We need to get back to order and working together, but it's very hard for Republicans to work with Democrats that call them domestic terrorists. I mean, come on. They need to look in the mirror and stop the hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's not a very friendly invitation when you, again, are name calling each other. Come on, let's figure it out, people. We're adults here. All right, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko joining us live this morning. Congresswoman, always great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes.